Hi, my name is Danita Ruskowski. I am the founder of Integrity Coding. I want to take some time tonight and I want to go over some coding in evaluation and management. I choose the subjects that I get the most responses from students. We not only teach full medical coding courses, including medical terminology, ICD-10, CPT. We do classes specifically to get students ready for their certification exams. But I also do private coaching. And students always, there's three areas that I find, I don't know, four, that students seem to struggle with the most: evaluation and management, integumentary, cardiology, and pathology. And again, that's not everybody, but those seem to be the major questions that I get, and that's where students seem to like to do the medical coaching with. So I'm going to take time tonight. This is for beginners. For those of you who haven't seen my videos before, let me give you a little bit of a background. About 6 years ago, I had been working in billing and coding for several years, and I had wanted to work from home. And I knew in order to work from home, I needed to be certified, because any of the remote positions that you see advertised, they're looking for certified coders. So I set out right then and there. Let me back up a little bit. I was also in a situation, we had had a lot of life changes, and I had become a grandparent. And I absolutely, unequivocally wanted to be involved in the life of my granddaughter. And in order to do that, I needed to become a certified coder. Long story short, I dropped her off for daycare when she was an infant one morning, and I left crying because she was crying because she didn't want me to leave her. And that just, I can't even tell you, those of you who are parents, you know what that does to your heart. So I got in the car and I just cried out to the Lord, and I said, Lord, I'm asking you to make a way so that I can be with her. And that's what really got everything in gear for me to do whatever I had to do to become a certified coder. I did eventually pass my exam. It took work. My other exams I passed much quicker. But I want to, speak to those who are studying for their CPC. I don't care if it's your 5th time or your 50th time. If it's your first time or it's your 10th time, don't give up. Don't give up. That really drove me to say, you know what, I can do this. I really can do this. And when I wanted to give up, it was like the 3rd time and I still hadn't passed. And I stopped and I said, it can't be my instructor. You have to stop. Don't blame people. We always have to take self-responsibility and let it come back to you and say, okay, instructors do the very best that they can. They do. But now it's up to me. And God gave me a great mind, and I can develop this so that I can learn how to pass this exam. I subsequently ended up writing an article for AAPC called Do What You Have to Do So You Can Do What You Want to Do. So don't ever think all the hours that you're spending grinding away at this exam, it's going to be so worth it. Coding is a great field. AAPC, and I'm sure Rahima too, does a great job preparing students for their board exam. At Integrity Coding, I take it one step further. I want students to become so well-grounded in their coding guidelines that that's going to make you stand apart from other coders. I don't want it to be, yes, of course I want you to pass the exam, but I also want you to become a coder. I call it becoming a coder of excellence, because you know your coding guidelines. Oh, I did that and my camera shook. So with that said, we're going to start off with the very basics. This is part 1 of evaluation and management. So I'm reading from my 2018 CPT book. Follow along with me. I am on page 4. You need to know the difference between a new and established patient. And if you read your guidelines, it says, solely for the purpose of distinguishing between new and established patients, professional services are those face-to-face services rendered by physicians and other qualified healthcare professionals who may report evaluation and management services reported by specific CPT codes. Now highlight what I'm about to read. A new patient is one who has not received any professional services from the physician, qualified healthcare professional, or another physician, qualified healthcare professional of the exact same specialty and subspecialty who belong to the same group or practice within the past 3 years. Let's give you a real life example. I work in the area of OBGYN right now. I also have worked in orthopedics where there was several doctors. So let's say, for example, it's the orthopedic practice. An established patient who has seen a provider within the past 3 years, again, that's the criteria, that means they're an established patient, they usually see Dr. D. Well, Dr. D isn't available, but Dr. C is. So the patient sees that doctor. They're under the same specialty, same group NPI. So it is not a new patient just because their regular doctor is not there. It's an established patient. Here's another example. If you haven't seen your primary care physician in more than 3 years, 4 years, well, when you go back years, you may be known to him, but according to medical coding guidelines, they're allowed to charge a new patient visit because they haven't seen you in 4 years. Again, coding guidelines says more than 3 years is the difference between a new and established patient. They will ask you that on the exam. Okay? Let's move on. I'm on page 5 of your CPT manual. We're looking at chief complaint. Chief complaint is a concise statement describing the symptoms, problems, conditions, diagnosis, or other factor that is the reason for the encounter. This is usually stated in the patient's own words. Highlight that. The chief complaint is usually stated in the patient's own words. I'm here because I fell and I hurt my knee. Chief complaint. Everything that I'm going to tell you, this is so that when you see it on the national board exam, it's going to be familiar to you. You'll have notes about it so that it doesn't, oh, I didn't know that. And when you're getting any of your practice questions wrong, I want you to go back to these coding guidelines and ask yourself, where am I missing it? Where am I missing it? It's not the teacher's fault. It's not the book's fault. And yeah, there are errors in practice questions. They don't always update them. But it always has to come back to you. God gave us a great mind, so we can develop this. We're now looking at concurrent care and transfer of care on page 5. It says concurrent care is the provision of similar service, for example, hospital visits, to the same patient by more than one physician or qualified healthcare professional on the same day. When concurrent care is provided, no special reporting is required. Transfer of care is the process whereby a physician or qualified healthcare professional who is providing management for some or all of the patient's problems relinquishes, key word, the responsibility to another physician or other qualified healthcare professional who explicitly agrees to take this responsibility and who, from the initial encounter, is not providing consultative services. The physician or other qualified healthcare professional transferring care is then no longer providing care for these problems, though he or she may continue providing care for other conditions when appropriate. Consultation codes should not be reported by the physician or other qualified healthcare professional who has agreed to accept transfer of care before an initial evaluation, but are appropriate to report if the decision to accept transfer of care cannot be made until after the initial consultation evaluation, regardless of site or service. Pay special attention to everything that I'm bringing out to you, because more than likely they're going to ask you this on the board exam. And even if they don't ask you, when you get on your coding job, if you're doing a consult, you need to understand, is this a true consult? Is it a transfer of care? So that you know what you can code for your provider. I'm going to give you an example. A patient goes, again, I'm going to give you an example because of the specialty that I have worked in. One of my doctors gets called and says, we have a patient, it's an OBGYN patient, can you come and consult on this case? My provider goes to the ER or the floor, wherever the patient may be, and does a consult on what's going on. If, however, so that means my doctor is doing a consult. At that point, he's not transferring, the care of that patient is not being transferred to my provider. He's doing a consult. If my provider says, you know what, I've got it from here. This patient has agreed that I will take over her care. Thank you. Now that consultative doctor who calls my doctor and says, can you do a consult? The care is now being transferred. It is no longer with the initial physician, but the care is now being transferred to the OBGYN physician. Okay? Transfer of care. So understand the terminology. If you then look on page 6, you're going to begin to look at, it says counseling, family history, history of present illness. There is more that goes into this, and I'm going to take that up on part 2. But the takeaway from this, number 1, you know the difference between a new and established patient. Okay, if a patient hasn't been seen in more than 3 years, they're considered a new patient. If a patient is seen by a provider within the same subspecialty, she has the same group NPI, just because their regular doctor is not there, but they see another physician within our practice, they're still an established patient if they've been seen within those 3 years. So make sure you have those guidelines highlighted. If you would like more information on any of the classes that we offer at Integrity Coding, please shoot me an email at Danita, DANITA, at integritycoding.com. We have our 16-week spring course starting up on Wednesday, March the 25th. It is from 7 to 9 p.m. Students are responsible for all books, and I have that listed right on the site. The cost is only $625. We do accept interest-free payment plans. The reason I keep my classes so reasonable, it has nothing to do with the quality. The quality is just as high. I don't believe in charging students an arm and a leg to get their coding certification because it's not necessary. You can become a certified coder without having to take out a mortgage on your house. So at Integrity Coding, read the reviews. We have a great success rate with students passing their certification exams. Students, again, responsible for all books and all practice exams. There is a discount as well for students when you mention my name, and I have a discount code. It's right on the website. For more information, if you want to join our class that begins in March, shoot me an email, Danita, DANITA, at integritycoding.com. And this class includes medical terminology. It's 16 weeks. It's a full medical coding course, and we have a lot of fun. I enjoy these students immensely. I really, really do. So shoot us an email and be looking for part 2 of Evaluation and Management. Thank you. Bye-bye.